Stepping away from the still life fruit bowl and from the landscapes today, time to look at some nice warm pinks and vibrant oranges and reds in this flamingo.
Okay, ultra straightforward paint selections for this one. So for the deepest colour, I've gone with cadmium red deep. Beautiful deep red. As with all of the cadmium paints, really opaque, great coverage, really nice to work with. This is straight out of the tube, lovely sort of creamy buttery feel to it. And for the middle tone, I'm using just normal cadmium red, slightly more orangey. And for the base of the neck there, the brightest colour is cadmium orange. So three fantastic colours here that you can tint with a bit of white or create shades of with a bit of dark, a bit of black, to describe that there flamingo perfectly. So not really a great deal to show with these, except I just wanted to demonstrate just how effective the cadmium pigments are at tinting. They are extremely powerful. So I'm just going to put out some titanium white here. And there's absolutely no future in trying to mix the white into those colours. Instead, I'm going to take a tiny bit of the colour itself and mix it into the white. Now for the feathers in this particular picture, we're going to need some very light pink. That's not a million miles off. Nice cool pink, not too fiery. If you use the other two to create that pink, it's going to be a bit extreme. But as I've shown on other videos, one thing that's quite nice to do with these really intense pigments is to actually create scales of the tints. Let me show you what I mean by that. What I'm going to do here is borrow some of this white, mix it in a bit more, mix it in, put some more out in a second for the other colours. You can see what we've got here is just a scale of very useful variations on that colour. Just going to do exactly the same the mid-tone here. Okay, so as before, just going to mix the white into that red. It's very similar to the deep, but a little bit more chromatic, I suppose I could say, a little bit of a brighter colour. Alright, got some more of that white creeping through there. The colour seems to be overpowering the white that's come back, so take some of the pile away. I can always use that for something else. Go back in with some fresh white and just mix a little bit of that colour through it. And that often happens if you're mixing white into really intense colours. They can overpower it. Just try one more here. As I mentioned before, I think it was in the plums video, I would very much recommend this as an exercise, just so you know what the colours that you already have in your box can do. Now I'm using actual artist's pigments here, so these are probably going to be a little bit stronger than any if you're using cadmium red, cadmium orange hue, which is sort of modern synthetic equivalents of the pigments. But certainly you should be able to get some very similar results. And if you just do this exercise, it'll make you a lot more familiar with what the paints that you already have are capable of, rather than filling your head full of the idea that you need to go out and buy a fresh tube of paint for every painting. Addictive though it can be, collecting paint, and you've only to look at my recent storage rack video to know that over many years I've been guilty of that myself. So rather pot kettle black at this point. Another one we're overpowering the white here. But yeah, definitely learn what your paints can do, rather than trying to rely on buying a solution whenever you want to do a different subject. And the main reason for saying that is that very rarely are the colours that you want going to be available to you in a tube. Usually you need to take tube colours and manipulate them in some way to make them actually useful.
So there we go. Some really nice colours there, and don't be thinking that you have to go out and spend 35 quid a tube on the two cadmium colours in artist quality. You really don't. Modern hues, that's the synthetic alternatives to traditional pigment, are very good. So cadmium red hue and cadmium orange hue will do just fine. Anyway, hope that's been helpful. If it has, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.